Welcome everybody to the third in our series of webinars. Today we have a special treat for you guys. We're bringing you a little fireside chat, a Q&A with Matt Bamonte on Donuts around their domains protected DPML. Thank you for attending, and we hope you enjoy this topic. Before we start, a little bit about 101 Domain. As many of you know, as existing clients of ours, we are domain name registrar. We focus on all types of TLDs, both generic domain names sponsored by ICANN as well as country codes, in literally every country around the world. So we've been very involved in the new DTLD program, and the DPML product is one product that resonated with many of our clients as it launched nearly 5 years ago. So coming up on the 5-year anniversary, we thought it'd be good to bring Matt in to do a little Q&A to get updated on what's going on with DPML today, what the future of it looks like, and just to give us some insight into what's going on at the workshop over at Donuts. Welcome, Matt.
Yeah, thank you very much, Anthony. Pleasure to be here. Really excited to talk about one of my favorite subjects. Not only Donuts as a company and kind of where we are and where we're going, but also, as Anthony pointed out, the focus is on DPML or Donuts Protected Marks List. Something that we were very proud about launching when our registry when we first started almost 6 years ago now. And 5.5, almost 6 years later, it's still a success, and it's doing exactly what it was set out to do, and that was to prevent cyber squatting in the new TLD space, which I know is important to a lot of the audience members here today.
Great. Thanks for joining us, Matt. So I'm going to start by asking just a little bit about the Donuts story. Many of our customers and IT practitioners, many of them are on this interview, or we'll listen to it later. They've been following Donuts since the inception of Donuts in conjunction with the new GTLD program for quite a while now. And I know there's been some big events and some big happenings over at Donuts in the last year. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. And yeah, you're right, Anthony. There has been quite a lot of changes here in the last year and a half, a year as well at Donuts. But it's all been really good. And yeah, I mean, we had a terrific 2018. It's hard to imagine that we're already at the end of the year here, ready for 2019. But we expanded our TLD portfolio, which is always something that was important to us, looking for unique opportunities to either partner with or acquire additional TLDs to just strengthen our portfolio. One of the things we pride ourselves on is kind of differentiating ourselves from the other registries is our vertical TLD play. I think that's one thing that really separates us out from the other folks, and adding the likes of .travel was just a really good undertaking and really adds value to the portfolio. And I know, as we saw about a year and a half ago, we acquired Rightside registry, and that was towards the middle of 2017, and that instantly expanded our portfolio by, I think, well over 40 names. And I think in total we're up to about 241. And as I said in my opening, we acquired a great TLD in .travel to add to the vertical play in some of our TLDs. And coming up here very soon, .fan is another one that we own, and .charity, which hopefully you guys have seen go through Sunrise and general availability, and we're having successes there too, just to add to the lot. And again, as we move forward, we'll continue, I think, to have an open mind, and the exec team have an open mind, and if to partner up on initiatives, but also to grow through acquisition. So that'll be something exciting to look out for in the next year and years to come.
All right. So the Rightside purchase, I'm sure, kept you guys busy for quite a while. And also saw in the news that you recently went private. Well, actually, you were a private company already, but the company changed hands, and some of the founders have stepped down. So with the changing of the guard and the executive team over there, is there anything you can tell us about the company's approach going forward to business and what they're focusing on?
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, you're right, Anthony. We the four founders that originally started our company have stepped aside, and they founded our company in 2010 by very four respected people and veterans in the industry. And even today, we're fortunate still to have Paul Sahura. He was, a co-owner, or excuse me, a co-founder. He remains an investor today. And as Anthony alluded to, we were sold to a private equity firm that's based up in Boston, Massachusetts, and by a company called Avery Partners. And they're a top-tier private equity firm. And if you go to their website, and I've done some research myself, they've invested heavily in technology, which is really going to, I think, excite us in the future, and look to other opportunities in the technology space just to add to the value of domain names, maybe being a little bit more creative on how we use domain names in the future, and obviously especially around new TLDs, new top-level domains. And then just to close out, and again, I know you've probably seen it in the news, we announced that we made a new hire at the CEO level, Akram Atala. He is well known in the industry with his experience and years at ICANN in a high leadership role. He's only been with us for a couple of weeks, but I know he's looking forward to really digging in and just giving us a really clear path and strategy for the future, which all really affects everyone on this call, myself, Anthony, being from the registrar level, but also the end user and the clients. So looking forward to that, and for right now, business as usual, and we're just forging ahead and look forward to things to come.
Awesome. I, for one, am really excited to see what comes out of all these changes. I've seen in the past when companies tend to change hands or go private that it's a sign of bigger things to come. So we're anxiously awaiting to see what comes out of that. I want to switch gears a little bit to just what's going on in the overall market. I have my opinion, and our sales team and accounts team talking to our clients talk a lot about what's going on in the new GTLD market as well as the overall market. We have perspective around country codes which act a lot differently than new GTLDs. So I'd like to get your thoughts on how the new GTLD market is going from your perspective. Which TLDs are winning. What you had mentioned, focusing on specific verticals, and how all of this is affecting trademark holders. And for many on this call, the question is, what are brands and trademark owners currently and still doing around brand protection and cyber squatting?
Yeah, no, that's great, Anthony. And yeah, there's a couple different components here that I could hit on. Let me just first start with marketing or kind of our marketing plans and kind of where that stands right now. From my perspective, being kind of in front of the registrars, it's really business as usual. And business as usual, what I mean is, we're constantly looking at creative ways to properly retail names, getting in front of the end user. One of our challenges is to have these new TLDs being seen out there, because if they're not being seen and they're not being used, then no one's going to know about them. So it's really important for us to work with registrars like 101 and 101's competition to make sure there's new TLDs being presented at time of search. And like Anthony said, using that vertical play. So for instance, if I'm a small business and I'm a plumbing company, if I'm typing in my search, Joe Smith Plumbing, I really hope that I'm being presented by something similar to Adopt Plumbing, because if he didn't know about that, then he might find out a year later, and that is a short, specific, meaningful name. That's why I kind of talk about the vertical play and how important it is. And in fact, to make it easier for registrars and even end users, we created a website called Great.Domains. And Great.Domains is a great site for really anyone to go to check out all of our TLDs listed in those verticals that Anthony alluded to, different taglines for TLDs and messages for, well, who should this one go to? But more importantly, who's actually using these TLDs? And it has all sorts of screen grabs of home pages of folks, from a food truck to a small to medium-sized business to large corporations like Barclays using new top-level domains. And I'd urge you guys to have a look at that and talk to 101 if you have any questions or looking for more opportunities in that respect. So that's really on the marketing side of things. The other part that I heard from Anthony's question was TLD acquisitions. And again, I stole a little of the thunder in the beginning, but we're always looking for opportunities to grow and expand. As I said in my opening, we saw the opportunity with Rightside, which was a great fit, but we're also seeing opportunities come to fruition like .travel to kind of add to the arsenal of our suite. And then finally, really, what are we doing with the IP community? I don't want to get too detailed right now because I know a lot of this webinar is going to be focused on the DPML. But working with you guys, working through the registrars, but for you guys with DPML. And I don't know if many of the folks on the phone know this, but DPML was formed, as I said, about 6, almost 7 years ago. Really, was when we put pen to paper. And these trademark and community owners urged ICANN for a 4th or 5th RPM, or rights protection mechanism for them to protect their interests. And blocking was one of those services. And ICANN did not fulfill that obligation. We saw this as an opportunity, we meaning Donuts Registry, and we went ahead and created this DPML for the point of really the point behind DPML is and continues to be to prevent cyber squatting. And folks, it has worked. We're seeing some of the lowest abuse statistics in our TLDs. That's some of the ways we're working with the IP community and continuing to add new features, including the Homograph Protection. And hopefully in 2019, we'll be adding another feature, registry lock. So we're continuing to invest. We think it's important to keep the interests of the brands and trademarks at the forefront. So hopefully that answers your question, Anthony.
That does. Thank you. That actually is a good segue into the DPML section here. And you did allude to putting pen to paper about 7 years ago. We are coming up on the 5-year anniversary of that product launching, and we're currently talking to our clients about renewal options and what renewal looks like, with many of them coming due in the first quarter. Our clients here at 101 have purchased hundreds of these DPMLs over the last few years and spending quite a bit of money on the product. And I agree that it's worked very well for trademark holders. We do see very low instances of abuse. Obviously, for those that have protected their specific mark, really no abuse. And we have seen quite a few use the override function to actually take names out of the block and use certain names. I can tell you that in full transparency, 101, we have our DPML blocks in place, and we've overridden quite a few names to use them for purposes both externally and internally. And I suspect that you guys are seeing a lot of that with other trademark owners as well as time goes by. Is that a fair assumption?
Yeah, it is. It's definitely a fair assumption. You talk about overrides. Yeah, that was something that was really important to us when we created DPML, and the fact that we wanted brands and trademarks to be able to come in with a valid trademark or SMD and say, okay, I just want to block everything across Donuts TLDs. I can't think about it right now. There's so much going on. And then once the dust settles with the new TLD program, because I feel like the program really snuck up on a lot of us, and it went live, and everybody survived. So that was a good thing. But we also, in the back of our minds, we wanted to say, well, if you're a company like Apple and the Apple Computing Company, and you wanted to purchase a DPML, and it's public, they went ahead and did it. But in 2 years, 3 years down the road, they launched the Apple Watch. Well, we would love for them to be able to say, I want everything else blocked in the Donuts TLD portfolio, and override .watch. And again, we're not expecting brands and trademarks, and this is a really important point. We're never expecting brands and trademarks just to ditch their legacy TLDs and their complete branding strategy. What we challenge the brands and trademarks to do, and we continue to do, is look for a new creative and innovative way to use these. So, Apple.watch, obviously great name. They did in fact override, and I know for a short time when they were marketing it, it was pointing to the apple.com website. And that's okay, because typing in apple.watch is creative, it's innovative, it's marketed as that. We don't care. It doesn't bother us that it's a redirect. Or if you're a small to medium-sized business and you want to have a marketing or a promotional idea, use one of the TLDs, even if it's for a temporary promotion. But that's the type of stuff that really helps, I think, brands and trademarks differentiate themselves from the competition. So it was really important for us to add that element into the DPML.
Great. You mentioned Apple. Apple.news comes to mind for me. For those of you that have iPhones, which is half of the population, I believe, if you send a link on your news app in Apple, they're using Apple.news, correct?
Yeah, they are, actually, and I've seen that before, and Anthony, thanks for pointing that out. But, it really is cool to see that when that pops up and seeing the URL as apple.news. So, again, another creative way that a major global brand is using that. So thank you for pointing that out.
Yeah, that's awesome. So for those who don't know exactly what DPML is, can we take a step back and just explain just a little bit how it works?
Absolutely. So about 5.5 years ago when DPML came out, it was pretty simple. It was as long as the brand or trademark had a valid SMD file. I believe that stands for Signed Mark Data, issued by the Trademark Clearinghouse, or TMCH, you may have seen for short. You were eligible to block that particular second-level string across all of Donuts TLDs owned and operated. There were a couple of nuances and rules to the DPML when we first came out, so it only applied, or it only covered standard price names. And there was a lot of back and forth with, it only covers standard, why doesn't it cover premium? Well, 96 or 97% of our names were at standard price, so they were covered nearly 100%. And for those that it turned out to be a premium, what we said was, well, okay, just go ahead and register the name if it's not blocked. Because again, premium name doesn't necessarily mean these names are $10,000. A premium name, again, depending on the registrar, could be, $60. It could be $50, depending on what registrar you choose. So we just thought if it was really important to you and it was something that was going to keep you up at night, go ahead and register it. And quite honestly, it worked out quite well. So that's kind of our legacy DPML in a nutshell. One term across all of Donuts TLDs, standard price, owned and operated. And again, as Anthony alluded to with the override, go ahead and do that at any time while keeping the rest of your blocks intact. About 3 years ago, which I'm sure you've heard too, we came up with another iteration of DPML, and that was called DPML Plus. We said, all right, well, we took 3 years of feedback and saying, well, you should cover premiums, you should add variants. So, the community spoke and we listened. So DPML Plus is a little bit different. The DPML Plus is one term, again, using the same rules as of the SMD, but it also includes 3 variants. And those 3 variants can either be a misspell or contain of that variant. These blocks, they also cover both standard and premium names. So legacy was just standard names, one term. DPML Plus, 1 plus your 3, and it includes standard and premium names. The DPML Plus was a little bit higher in cost for obvious reasons because we're giving you so much more value. And again, that's all up to the particular retail registrar to come up with that pricing. What I will say about pricing on both Legacy and Plus, we really tried to break it out for everyone back when we first launched. And if you look at it, we tried to keep the per term per TLD at about $3. And at that price point, folks, I mean, if you were a brand or trademark owner and tried to register all 240 TLDs, it's not coming near to that price. So when you break it down, it covers you 5 years, it covers you 10 years, plus 3 variants. It shakes out to that $3, $4 range, which we thought was very fair, and we're definitely proud of that price point.
Yeah, looking at it from that perspective, it essentially, to me, it's a very low cost registration that you're blocking or for lack of a better term, registering names that remain inactive until you want to use them for a much cheaper price point. And there's definitely a benefit for that because when a trademark holder comes in and looks at Donuts, I believe you said 240 plus strings currently.
Correct. We have 241 to be exact.
241, so I was close. it is a daunting task, and it's daunting for a client's checkbook to think, okay, do I need to register all of these, and what is the cost of doing that versus the DPML blocking product, which is much more economical. I wanted to confirm the pricing terms for these products, if I heard correctly, were 5 years for the standard DPML and 10 years for the DPML Plus, correct?
Yes, and thank you, Anthony, for pointing that out. I think I was remiss in saying the terms. So it's 5 years for Legacy and 10 years for Plus. And recall, one of the things that's important is if you're just, say, 3 years into the term of the Legacy, you can go ahead and renew. You can renew that at that time for a max of 10 years. So it really works like a registration. So I think the rules of a registration are the same. You can renew for up to 10 years.
Great. Thank you for clarifying that. Now,
No
one of the features and that I'm most curious about is this Homograph Protection, which you mentioned earlier. In doing a little research, I did understand what a homograph was, and it's actually something that we've dealt with at 101. Can you go into a little bit about what that is and how that works and what trademark owners should be on the lookout for?
Yeah, so really for the trademarks and brands, I mean, it's, again, for your blocks, it's business as usual. I mean, even today, if you have a DPML Legacy or DPML Plus through 101 domain, you're already being covered for homographic protection. And basically, in a nutshell, our systems will analyze content of each of the SLDs, so each of the second levels, and we break it down to individual characters, which are hundreds and sometimes even thousands of different characters. And then each character is spun against the Unicode list of confusable characters, because that's what it's all about, is these guys are sophisticated enough, or these bad actors are sophisticated enough, is to spin this into different languages and permutations and register these names. So what we've done is we've built a system that we take each second level, spin them, come out with thousands upon thousands of results, and have those automatically blocked in our DPML.
Okay, so with 101 domain, the 101, the 0 could potentially, or the O can be a different character in a different character set, essentially.
That is absolutely a perfect example of how that would work, yeah.
And that's what we've seen. We've seen registrations come in, even into our own system, that are registering 101 domain and using different characters that are really unrecognizable to the normal user, normal viewer. This feature is great. It's a question that keeps coming up with clients more and more, and something that our accounts team is trained to discuss and build a plan around. So I'm really glad and happy to see that you guys are including this in the DPML product. And you said it's already included.
You guys already have, yeah. So anybody that has DPML or DPML Plus is automatically covered in this now. And again, guys, if there's any questions, you want to clarify that, I would encourage you to contact your 101 account manager, and then if they have questions, they can contact me. But what I wanted to interject with, we use this industry term. I think it's an industry term, like confusingly similar, and hopefully a lot of us has heard of that. And that really takes that kind of off the table, because we want to make sure there's no bad actors. And again, because the spirit again of DPML is to prevent cyber squatting. Well, if we didn't do this, then maybe there'd be a chink in the armor. So we didn't want to have that happen with the brands and trademarks, and we went ahead and did that.
Great. And I believe something to let our clients know and those interested in purchasing, we actually can generate a list. So if you were to give us a mark, we can generate a list of the homograph variations, I believe, in your system. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes, you are. Yes.
Great. And we've done this for clients, and it is eye-opening to see what the variations are and how closely these terms look to each other with these different characters it's very much a nuance into to the average user getting an email, a spoofed email or a phishing email or things like that. Really can go undetected in many cases. So the pricing for the DPML, you alluded about the price per domain name. And in full disclosure, the pricing at 101 Domain is $54.95 for the 5-year DPML and $10,995 for the DPML Plus, which is for 10 years. So roughly comes out to $1,000 plus or minus per year. I do know, and we've sent out communication to our clients about a price increase that's coming down the line on January 1st. Can you talk a little bit about this and where that price increase came from?
Sure, great question. So, so we are on January 1st, we have some price adjustments going into effect that will affect both the legacy and the Plus. And, really, if you want to use the term justification, well, about a year and a half ago, as you guys all know, we acquired an additional 40 plus TLDs from Rightside. We've just recently added travel. We've added, like we just spoke about, Anthony, the Homograph Protection. So we feel like these features and features that we're rolling out here and the additional TLDs, adding to the suite of services, just more in line with really what the industry standards should be.
Okay, that makes sense to me. So my final question here is, we covered a lot of ground here, and I can imagine a number of people on this call, and thank you guys again for joining us, are sitting here trying to distill this information and thinking about, if they're not the decision maker in purchasing this product, how they go back to their decision makers, explain this product, explain the value to their internal stakeholders. I know if someone on my staff came to me and said, we need to spend $5,000 or $10,000 or more dollars on something like this, I'm going to want, an explanation and probably have some questions. Sure. Can you leave our listeners with maybe an elevator pitch type sure. breakdown?
Yeah, look, I don't want to, and not necessarily an elevator pitch. Here's what I would say. I'm going to take it from two angles. One, I would say I'd go back to 101 Domain account manager and work on a kind of a detailed plan of really what I was talking about. What does it come with? What are the features? What are the benefits? The cost breakdown, because I really think that will shed some light on the people who you were trying to get the budget from. And that's really the easier part. The one that I really want to talk about, which I really think resonates, or at least I hope resonates, is are two particular examples. There's two different names in the last 6 months, home.loans and vacation.rentals, that sold in the new TLD space to entrepreneurs or small businesses for just a bit over $500,000 for those names. It was great sales. We really were happy with that. And so what we did was we did a little bit of triage, and we said, okay, well, who owned homeloans.com? Kind of who missed out on that domain name? And that was Wells Fargo. And think to themselves, they're going to think to themselves as, wow, if I could have just bought this name for X amount of dollars, and what happens in 10 years when they have to buy it for a few $1 million? And this entrepreneur saw the opportunity. It's one of the highest search terms on Google, and they went ahead and snatched it up. Whereas, kind of a missed opportunity for that brand and trademark. And the same thing happened with vacation.rentals. Again, a highly searched term in Google. I know both of them at one point, and I haven't checked yet. They were both ranking on page 1 of Google search. That was another name that got taken by an entrepreneur. Again, a little over $500,000. And that was a name, I think that term was owned by Expedia/HomeAway.com. So looking at those examples, those are just great examples of brands and trademarks missing out on that particular opportunity to really protect themselves.
Okay, yeah, I did see those in the news, and those are quite impressive, those sales. That really tells me that new TLDs are definitely here to stay and continue to gain traction in the marketplace. And as a brand, you definitely want to make sure you have a strategy around this. And the DPML is one product that very much fits in that strategy for a number of trademark holders, and that's kind of the perspective we see on it. Well, Matt, I thank you for your time today, and we're going to turn it over now to a little bit of Q&A with our audience. So we'll start going through those questions right now. Doesn't look like we have any questions at the moment. I'm going to give everybody a couple more minutes to see if anything comes in. Okay, so here's a question. Thank you, Kevin, for your question. The question is, how do we transition from a standard registration to a DPML? And I'm going to leave that question to Matt.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Anthony. And I hope I'm answering this properly, Kevin. So it sounds like you want to potentially look at DPML to replace just one of your standard registrations that you have with 101 domain. Is that how you're reading that, Anthony?
Yes, that's how I'm reading it.
Yeah. So again, when we talked about the rule set a little bit earlier in our discussion, and as long as Kevin, as long as you have a valid SMD, signed marked data file, issued by the Trademark Clearinghouse, TMCH, both services, 101 domain can help you with, you'd be able to somewhat upgrade to a Donuts DPML, and that label that you might have a registration in would then be covered under all of all of the Donuts top level domains.
So in that case, Matt, if he were to let that to not renew that registration, would it get absorbed by the DPML?
We'd have, yes. So we'd have to pick that one up. Yes, it would once upon expiration, that particular domain name would then be automatically picked up because you already have that label blocked in the DPML that you've purchased. Yes. And just to be clear, guys, with all of these little nuances, and if we're upgrading or letting a name expire to then be picked up by the DPML, we have a very thorough operations and development teams that can confirm all this information, because I know how scary it could be. And I didn't mention this in the beginning, but I worked for 14 plus years at corporation service companies, CSC, dealing with brands and trademarks. We can absolutely walk you through the process to ensure 100% transition, so there's no anxiety about letting a domain name expire and wondering if it's going to be covered by DPML.
Great. Another question here from Joseph. He's saying, with the DPML Plus and the three strings, three additional strings, do they have to be misspellings, or could it be something like Apple and then do an additional string Apple TV? And would that be covered under a single DPML?
Yeah, great question. So with DPML Plus, the value that we have is you can have, the first term is obviously the exact match. So we'll take Apple for the sake of example, Anthony, and then your customer can add either misspells or contain, and those would be, three of those. And if you guys want more, if you say, well, listen, I have my primary, I have my +3, but there's another 3 or 6 or 9 that I care about, you can also do that by another additional smaller fee, but we'll follow the same rule set. And I'd encourage you, if that's the case, to just talk to 101 about what those retail prices would be.
Yeah, that's some great flexibility. We have some clients that have 3, and I think we have 1 or 2 that have 5 or 6, just because they've seen in their portfolio all those variations repeatedly being registered. So it's definitely helpful. Follow-up question to that: do the additional strings have to include the additional mark then?
Yeah, so, well, with it contains, you'd obviously have trademark plus a term. Misspell, obviously, could just be a misspelling of that term. So, no, it doesn't have to be in there. But it has to be, it has to be Apple, maybe APLE or APPLLEE or something like that. So it's got to be an iteration that follows along that trademark.
Great. Another question here, what if I have multiple trademark terms for which I want to use DPML? Do I need to purchase a separate DPML for each, or does one purchase cover multiple terms?
Well, a couple ways to answer that. One, if they're all unique terms, then yeah, you'd have to do a separate DPML for those unique terms. But again, if it's a unique term and then you have a couple terms that either contains or misspells, and you could choose the DPML Plus.
Great. I think that's all the questions. We'll just wait another minute to see if anything else comes in.
Sure.
Again, if you have any further questions, guys, we have our account managers here on staff. They're very well versed in this product. And as Matt said, Donuts team, who we work very closely with on some of the nuances of these things, are standing by with us as well. I do want to mention again the Homograph report is something that we are providing to clients complimentary at the request. So if you'd like to see that, if you have an existing DPML with us, or if you're considering purchasing, we're happy to run that Homograph report to show you those additional terms that you're able to block outside of the exact match string or the contains or the specific misspelling that you're considering as well. And that's a super helpful report. Really can give you a good view on additional items to watch out for. All right. Well, I think that's all the questions we have. I want to thank everybody for joining today and for the questions, and we hope that you have some clarity with DPML. And again, we're standing by for any questions that you have. Feel free to reach out to us. You can send us an email at that101domain.com or contact your account manager or give us a call at area code 760-444-8674. Everybody have a great day. Happy holidays, and we'll see you all again soon.
Thank you.